But before I give the communique, I would want to appreciate the feedback that we have received, and those specific ones to KSG. I will escalate them on areas that we need to improve. We say it's Kaizen, continuous improvement, and you can be sure they have been recorded. We are many of us present here, and we are going to action on them because you are our key clients. So thank you very much for the feedback. All right, I'll go straight to the communique. I hope I'm not looking very short, Nikiwapa. Iko sawa? Okay. The Africa Public Sector Human Resource Network, Kenya chapter, established under the auspices of the Africa Public Sector Human Resource Managers Network, convened its second annual conference from 11th to 15th May at the Kenya School of Government Mombasa campus. The conference was convened to advance human resource management as a strategic instrument of statecraft, governance effectiveness, and national transformation in alignment with the Agenda 2063, the Africa we want. And I would come down to our own country, the Kenya we want. It brought together public sector HR practitioners, governance experts, institutional leaders, development partners, academia, oversight institutions, and other stakeholders across the public service ecosystem. The conference was structured around 4 thematic areas: guiding deliberations and peer learning, namely strategic human capital for a capable and developmental state, positioning HR as an instrument of national transformation, public sector HR in the age of disruption, ethics, intelligence, and institutional resilience, building agile, inclusive, and future-ready workforces, and reform pathways for sustainable public institutions, and from compliance to custodianship, elevating HR as guardians of public trust. Our conference deliberations were as follows. First, affirms human capital as foundation of state capability, institutional effectiveness, and national transformation. And then 2, reaffirms HR management as a strategic instrument of statecraft and institutional transformation. 3, urges elevation of HR practice towards HR craft. You're writing. No, we are going to share this. You don't have to worry. For now, it's just here. This will be shared with you in the group, so that you can also see how you improve them and implement them in your organizations. And as I speak this, before I forget, because it's not in this one, when we call for papers to meet the rest of Africa in November, please front your institutions and what you're doing, and let's showcase Kenya in the rest of Africa. When you were in that conference hall, we talked about the Kengen case. I think Kengen won, were they 2 awards or 1 award? In Sierra Leone. I think they won 1 award on wellness, and I remember the award on recognition for prior learning. Do you know what that is? Do we have it in our organization? Recognition for prior learning? Has anyone implemented that? That is also a key area that we tap our talent from. And that was won by Kenya. You know also our examination body, that is HR and PEP, they are going to speak to us after, just before the DG makes his closing remarks. They have embraced RPL to onboard HR who have extensive, HR practitioners with extensive practice, very skilled, but are not CHRP. You are assessed on your skills and competencies, and you're given equivalent qualification. It is recognized, and you are given your gap analysis on the areas that you need to improve on. For us in KSG, that is something we are implementing for all our cadres in areas that we have very good workforce. We have brought in assessors, I think we'll be having our first graduation early June. I know there's some assessment going across every campus right now, even Mombasa. I'm going to continue with the deliberations. Number 3, urges elevation of HR practice towards HR craftsmanship, anchored on ethics, performance, productivity, and institutional renewal. 4, calls for the ethnicized merit-based HR systems grounded on professionalism, competence, integrity, and fairness. 5, recognizes that artificial intelligence, digitization, and automation are reshaping work and require integration into our digital HR systems. 6, notes with concern the decisive influence of organizational culture on performance, ethics, innovation, and public trust. 7, emphasizes employee wellness, mental health, and psychological safety as drivers of institutional resilience and productivity. 8, calls upon institutions to strengthen succession planning and structured leadership pipelines for future readiness. 9, notes emerging practices including Genzification program, that is leadership renewal, and the 5 Kaizen-inspired program that speaks into our continuous improvement and discipline as we continue serving the public service. 10, encourages benchmarking, peer learning, and collaboration to advance HR excellence and innovation, that we don't need to recraft or to start afresh if you have had another organization is getting it right in public sector. Let us be willing to share this knowledge and call on each other, learn from each other, and I'm sure we can all impact our public service. Then reaffirms implementation of Articles 10 and 232 through institutional culture, transformation, and leadership accountability. 13, calls for expanded civic engagement and public participation in advancing constitutional values beyond compliance. I think we got ideas on how we can advance our constitutional values. We are not just reporting that we did them. We also measure the impact, maybe from the CSRs that we are doing or the engagements that we are having with our communities. Then 14, underscores alignment of leadership, systems, people, strategy, and culture in institutional transformation. 15, identifies 5 pillars of statecraft grade HR systems as those that are adaptive, capacity, digital fluency, citizen-centered design, psychological safety, and purpose-driven culture. And 16, calls upon institutions to develop HR strategies and AI governance frameworks to support workforce readiness and ethical technology adoption. I think from what the PSC presenter said yesterday, that the chairman is very keen on the digital space, and that means we are all going to rally behind our public sector to see what are these systems we need to digitize to make our processes more, adaptable to our colleagues. We become more productive, and we have even maybe more, agile employees in our organization, and people who are not stressed with work because of this so many manual work that we are doing of late. Then resolutions and recommendations. The conference resolves to reposition HR as a core function of statecraft within executive governance structures. As we do our HR instruments, be keen where you are repositioning HR, okay? And I think another take home I got, it's a high time we come up with a framework of doing our professional opinion. One of the things, actually PSC sits in our board in Kenya School of Government. I remember one of the commissioners making it very clear to me, Florence, the buck stops with you. The professional advice you bring to the board. If we have done our background checks properly, have consulted and we consult. I think some of us who are awake yesterday at 11, you know, you pose questions and you have people still responding to you in the state corporations groups. And I want to believe all the other sectors have their groups. We don't shy away from asking, how am I supposed to address this? And sometimes when you're not very sure, you call the real office that is supposed to guide you. A lot of consultations, but do your professional opinion. If it is ignored, it is documented. Cindy, if it is ignored, you documented it and you had researched it. So let's research widely. Let us consult. Let us not feel shy. Don't think that it is foolish to ask. It will be the other way around if you don't ask. Sawa sawa. We continue talking to each other, and I believe even in our group, we continue engaging and asking things that can help us on our day-to-day work. Because we have so many emerging issues that can sometimes be very brain draining. 2, recommends strengthen ethical governance, accountability, systems, and anti-corruption safeguards across HR functions, calls for full institutionalization of constitutional values under Articles 10 and 232 through leadership and systems reforms. And I believe we are all doing this now that the PSC values are already mainstreamed and we are reporting on an annual basis. And I always challenge PSC, don't just make us report, engage us during the year to hear our issues. And that is one of the reasons APS invited PSC to engage with them, to hear from us what our challenges and how we want them to show up even when we have issues, not only to come at the end of the year. Then urges accelerated digital transformation through modern HR systems, AI governance frameworks, and continuous reskilling, calls for inclusive, innovative, and psychological safe workspaces that promote well-being and collaboration. To my dear HR practitioners, one of us has spoken to us about our mental well-being. This thing is real. And again, also, let's not shy away from seeking help. When you need to walk away, please walk away. Sawa sawa. Colleagues, let's take care of ourselves. If you do not take care of yourself, nobody will. Are you aware of that? Nobody will take care of you because by then they expect you are always the strong one. You have the shock absorbers. But when you need to see a psychologist, personally, I do my visits very often to my psychologist to debrief. My personal issues, my work issues, my aspirations, what is not working, because it's normal to say that life is not perfect. Sawa sawa. And it's the same thing we encourage with our people to seek help when they need help. Sometimes they refuse to seek help, thinking that they will look weak. But at least I was happy that an organization like Kengen has normalized these things. We cannot normalize those things, Cindy? It is wisdom to seek help. Then calls upon institutions to mainstream employee wellness and take care of ourselves. You cannot give what you don't have. I cannot give what I don't have. Then encourages collaboration, benchmarking, knowledge sharing across institutions and partners. What are we committing to? Advance ethical, accountable, and citizen-centered public service leadership. We make sure that we act as professionals in our spaces and elevate the HR management strategic function, do that professional opinion, and submit it and sign off, and keep the record for future reference, not just for now and also for future. Support governance reforms toward a capable and developmental state, promote innovation, inclusion, integrity, and institutional resilience, strengthen implementation of constitutional values, and of course, your institutional values that shape the culture, the way of doing things in your organization. Support continuous learning and digital transformation, enhance collaboration and knowledge exchange across the public service ecosystem. That is what we are trying to do as the APS Kenya chapter. The conference further commits to strengthen public trust institutional effectiveness and service delivery, the conference welcomes the proposal by the Public Service Commission to convene a National Values Conference and express readiness to collaborate. When that conference is called upon by the PSC, let us participate. Okay? Let us participate. Let's share what is working and how we want to see things, very confidently. Further, details of these resolutions captured herein will form part of the final conference report, and implementation of the resolutions and commitment shall be deliberated upon at the next year's conference. That's where we shall meet to do a recap what has worked since we part today. Is that okay? So I wish you all the very best. Let's continue engaging and make the public service great. Thank you very much.